Sailor Moon E, Act 7, Shadows of Defiance.
The Crown Cafe buzzed with the usual after-school crowd, but today the air felt heavier, charged with the sense of unseen eyes. Serena and Darian sat at a corner table, their milkshakes forgotten as they exchanged worried glances.
Darian, do you ever get the feeling that someone's watching us?
Serena asked, her voice tinged with unease. She stirred her milkshake absent-mindedly, her eyes scanning the room. Darian nodded, leaning closer to her.
Yeah, I've been feeling it for a while now. It's like there's a shadow lurking around. Everywhere we go, it feels like we're being followed.
Ray joined them, with Lita and Amy, each carrying a look of concern.
You're not the only ones,
Ray said, her expression serious.
I felt that at the temple earlier. Someone's definitely keeping an eye on us.
Lita frowned, glancing around the cafe.
And it's not just today. There's been this sense of foreboding for a while now. Like we're being watched even in our most private moments.
Amy pulled out her mini computer, tapping quickly as it hummed to life.
I've been scanning the area, but there's nothing concrete. Whoever it is, they're good at hiding. There's no trace of any unusual energy signatures or disturbances.
We need to stay alert,
Darian said, his tone resolute.
Lapidus won't stop, and this could be part of his plan. He's probably testing us, looking for our weaknesses.
Serena nodded, but her eyes were filled with worry.
We can't let him get the upper hand again,
she said softly.
We need to figure out what he's planning and stop him before it's too late.
Ray looked thoughtful, tapping her chin.
Let's meet up with the others and make sure everyone's aware of the situation. We need to be united in this. If we're all on high alert, it'll be harder for them to catch us off guard.
Lita glanced at the other patrons in the cafe, noticing how normal everything seemed.
It's strange, isn't it? That everything looks so normal on the surface, but there's this undercurrent of danger?
Amy sighed, closing her mini computer.
Normalcy is a facade we can't afford to indulge in right now. We need to be prepared for anything.
Darian reached out, squeezing Serena's hand.
We will get through this together, Buns. We always have.
Serena smiled weakly, feeling a bit reassured by his confidence.
You're right, Mamo. As long as we're together, we can face anything.
Just then, Mina and Mike walked in, waving as they approached the table.
Hey guys, what's up? You look like you've seen a ghost,
Mina said, her usual cheerful demeanor replaced with concern.
We were just talking about this feeling of being watched,
Ray explained.
It's been going on for days now, and we think it might be Lapidus.
Mike frowned.
That doesn't sound good. We should keep our guard up.
Mina nodded in agreement.
Absolutely. We can't let our guard down for a second.
Serena took a deep breath, trying to shake off the feeling of dread.
Okay, let's regroup and inform the others. We need to stay vigilant and be ready for anything.
They all agreed, finishing their drinks quickly, and headed out to gather the rest of the team. As they left the cafe, Serena couldn't help but glance back over her shoulder, feeling the weight of unseen eyes upon them. Nearby, Flora watched from a distance, her expression a mix of determination and doubt. She stood partially hidden behind a large oak tree, her eyes fixed on the group as they conversed in the cafe.
They seem so close, so trusting,
she thought, her fingers playing nervously with the edge of her jacket.
How can they not see the danger that they're in?
Her heart pounded as she watched them leave the cafe, their resolve evident in every step. She felt a pang of guilt, knowing that she was spying on her own brother and his friends. Flora sighed and stepped back into the shadows. Her mind conflicted. Reporting back to Lepidus was becoming harder with each passing day. She had been told that her mission was vital for peace, but seeing them like this, so human and genuine, made her question everything.
I don't understand how they can be such a threat,
she whispered to herself.
They look so normal, so kind.
As she moved deeper into the shadows, she felt a presence behind her. Turning quickly, she saw Zalcodal materialize from the dark, his eyes cold and calculating. "Flora," he said, his voice a low hiss. "What are you doing here? You were supposed to report back hours ago." Flora stiffened, trying to mask her fear.
I was gathering information,
she replied, her voice steady.
I wanted to make sure I had something valuable to report.
Zalcodal's eyes narrowed. "Do not forget your loyalty, Flora. Lepidus does not tolerate failure or hesitation."
I haven't forgotten,
Flora said, meeting his gaze.
I just need more time to understand their weaknesses.
Zalcodal smirked. "See that you do. Lepidus is not patient, and his plans are already in motion." With that, Zalcodal vanished into the shadows, leaving Flora alone once more. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her deception pressing down on her.
How much longer can I keep this up?
She wondered.
How much longer before they discover the truth about me?
With a final glance at the now empty cafe, Flora turned and walked away, her mind a whirl of conflicting emotions. She had a report to make, but her heart was no longer certain of its purpose.
My name is Ace, and I use a device called the Color Matrix, which allows me to hijack alternative universe versions of myself. I have the multiverse at my disposal, from being a Power Ranger to being a Spider-Man, to piloting the Orville, to being a vampire slayer. I can do it all. I can spend 8 hours of my time. Of course, time is different in each universe, but 8 hours of my time, piloting a version of myself. So come, explore the multiverse with me. See what my world is like in different universes. Explore the multiverse. If you want to hear such stories, then come and listen to The Color Matrix on Tiger Tales, The Lost Stories, found on YouTube.
Downtown, chaos erupted as shadow men materialized, attacking civilians with dark energy blasts and creating an atmosphere of terror. People screamed and ran, trying to find shelter from a sudden assault. The Sailor Scouts and Knights of Haven rushed to the scene, their determination evident in their eyes.
We can't let them harm anyone! Everyone!
Sailor Moon commanded, her voice ringing with authority and urgency.
Let's split up and cover more ground,
Tuxedo Mask instructed, his cape billowing behind him.
Sailor Moon and I will take the north side. The rest of you, spread out and protect the civilians.
Sailor Venus turned to Kunzite, her eyes sparkling with determination.
Let's handle the East. We work best as a team.
Agreed. Let's go.
Kunzite responded, his voice firm and resolute. Sailor Mercury and Zoisite took the west side, their movements synchronized.
I'll scan for any hidden threats,
Sailor Mercury said as her visor appeared.
Great. I'll handle any direct attacks.
Zoisite replied, his eyes scanning the area for any immediate danger. Sailor Mars and Jadeite headed toward the south, where the Shadowmen seemed to be gathering in large numbers.
We need them to keep them from grouping up,
Sailor Mars said, fire already dancing at her fingertips.
Leave it to me,
Jadeite said, summoning his own elemental powers.
They won't know what hit them.
As the team spread out, the sound of battle filled the air. Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask faced off against a particularly large group of Shadowmen, their movements in perfect harmony.
Tuxedo, La Smoking Bomber!
Tuxedo Mask shouted, launching a powerful attack that sent several Shadowmen flying.
Moon, Tiara, action!
Sailor Moon followed up, her tiara cutting through the dark figures with ease. Sailor Venus and Kunzite were surrounded, but they fought back to back, their trust in each other unwavering.
Venus, love me chain,
Sailor Venus cried, her chain wrapping around several Shadowmen and pulling them to the ground.
Wind's Crescent Slash,
Kunzite added, his blade cutting through the enemies with precision. Meanwhile, Sailor Jupiter and Nephrite were in the thick of the fight, their combined strength creating a formidable force.
Jupiter Thunder!
Sailor Jupiter shouted, lightning crackling from her hands.
Tectonic Earthquake!
Nephrite roared, his attack sending tremors through the ground, destabilizing the Shadowmen. Sailor Mercury's scanning revealed a hidden threat approaching the west.
Zoisite, there's a large group coming from behind that building,
She warned.
Mercury bubble blasted.
She shouts, and sends her attack at the group of Shadowmen.
Ocean Ball, Pelly Pelly Kick!
Zoisite said, stepping in front of Sailor Mercury and unleashing a powerful blast that scattered the attackers. Sailor Mars and Jadeite were having their own intense battle, their fires combining in a devastating display.
Mars, fire, ignite!
Sailor Mars called out, her flames scorching the Shadowmen.
Inferno Blast!
Jadeite added, bringing down a cascade of fireballs on their enemies. Despite the overwhelming numbers, the scouts and knights fought valiantly, their teamwork and determination shining through. The civilians began to find safety as the heroes pushed back the dark forces. Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask finally cleared the area, panting but victorious.
We did it,
Sailor Moon said, a small smile of relief on her face. Tuxedo Mask nodded.
But we need to stay vigilant. Lapis won't stop here.
The next day, on the north side of the city, chaos reigns again as Shadowmen materialized in droves, launching dark energy blasts at civilians and creating a scene of panic and destruction. Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask dashed into the heart of the fray, their determination unwavering.
Moon, Tiara, flash!
Sailor Moon's voice cuts through the chaos as her tiara flashes a blinding light at the Shadowmen.
Rose Petal Blade!
Tuxedo Mask followed suit as it struck down several enemies in rapid succession.
Mars, fire, ignite!
Sailor Mars' fiery attack engulfed a group of Shadowmen in flames, causing them to screech in pain.
Shine Aqua Illusion!
Sailor Mercury's ice-cold blast froze another group solid, buying them a momentary respite.
There's too many of them!
Sailor Mars shouted over the cacophony of battle.
They're more organized than before,
Sailor Mercury observed, her brow furrowed in concentration as she analyzed the situation.
It's like they're being distracted by a central force.
As if in response to her words, a monstrous figure emerged from the shadows. Towering over the battlefield, its form was a grotesque fusion of machinery and organic matter, a hulking beast known as Mechashade, created by Lepidus to lead his Shadowman army.
Pardon me, but can I ask you a question? Do you love comic books, but you just don't have the time to read them? Well, do I got a podcast for you. Nerds Through Comics, presented by the Red Cornish Ranger, takes present and some old comics and adapts them into an audio drama for you, the listeners, to enjoy. So, if you love comics as much as I do, go check out Nerds Through Comics on all your podcast stations.
Mechashade's eyes glowed with malevolent energy as it surveyed its surroundings, its mechanical limbs crackling with dark power. With a thunderous roar, it unleashed a barrage of energy blasts at Sailor Scouts and Knights of Haven.
We have to take down that monster,
Tuxedo Mask declared, his voice resolute as he analyzed Mechashade's movements. Sailor Moon nodded, her eyes blazing with determination.
Right, everyone. Focus your attacks on the Mechashade.
Sailor Mars conjured flames around her fists, her fiery aura intensifying.
Mars Flame Sniper!
She shouted, launching a searing arrow of flames at Mechashade's core. Sailor Mercury calculated her next move, her mind racing with tactical precision.
Mercury Aqua Mirage,
she called out, sending a turret of swirling water at Mechashade's legs to destabilize it. The combined assault caused Mechashade to stagger, its mechanical parts groaning under strain, but it retaliated with renewed fury, unleashing shockwaves that sent debris flying and tested the hero's resolve. Together, the Sailor Scouts and Knights of Haven fought tirelessly, their attacks coordinated and relentless. With each strike, Mechashade weakened, its dark energy flickering ominously.
We can do this,
Sailor Venus encouraged, her voice ringing with conviction as she launched her own barrage of attacks alongside Kunzite. Kunzite nodded in agreement, his focus unwavering.
Celestial Gale Strike,
he proclaimed, summoning a swirl vortex of wind and celestial energy that enveloped Mechashade, weakening its defenses. As the battle raged on, the city echoed with the clash of powers and the resolute cries of its defenders. The fate of countless lives hung in the balance as Sailor Moon and her allies pressed forward. Sailor Jupiter and Nephrite arrived on the scene, their presence adding a new dimension to the battle.
Jupiter Thunder Clap Zap!
Sailor Jupiter's lightning crackled through the air, striking Mechashade's vulnerability points with precision.
Gaia's Wrath!
Nephrite raises his arm, channeling the very essence of the earth itself. The ground beneath him trembles, and towering pillars of rock and stone erupt from the earth's crust. With a forceful motion, Nephrite hurls these massive projectiles toward Mechashade, causing devastating impacts upon impact. The sheer power and weight of the rocks leave a trail of destruction and upheaval in their wake, crushing anything in their path. The monster staggered under the onslaught, its dark energy flickering as cracks appeared in its armor.
Venus Love and Beauty Shock,
Sailor Venus called out.
Crashing wave of purification.
Zocyte does a jump spin kick and sends a huge wave at Mechashade.
Earth, holy light!
Tuxedo Mask called out and ran his hand over his sword. The sword started to glow with the blinding light. He then swung his sword down, and a wave of energy crashed into Mechashade.
Now's your chance, Sailor Moon! Finish this!
Sailor Moon nodded and summoned her Moon Heart Rod.
Moon, Spiral, Heart, Attack!
The combined assault proved too much for Mechashade to handle. With a final desperate roar, the monstrous creature collapsed in a cascade of sparks and mechanical debris.
We did it!
Sailor Moon exclaimed, relief evident in her voice as she surveyed the battlefield.
Great job, everyone!
Tuxedo Mask nodded, his gaze sweeping over his comrades with pride.
But we can't let our guard down. Laptis won't stop until he is defeated.
The other knights and scouts nodded in agreement, their determination unwavering even in the aftermath of battle. As the civilians gathered around them, offering thanks and gratitude, the heroes knew that their fight was far from over. After the battle, the team regrouped in a nearby park, their breaths heavy and their bodies aching from the intense combat. The once serene park now served as a temporary sanctuary for the weary warriors.
That was too close,
Lita said, wiping sweat from her brow. Her usual confident demeanor was tinged with exhaustion.
And smarter.
Oz added, his expression grim.
It looks like they know our moves before we make them.
Serena looked around at her friends. Worry etched her face.
We faced tough enemies before, but this feels different. There's a level of coordination and strategy we haven't seen from the Shadowmen until now.
Ray clenched her fists, her eyes burning with determination.
We need to find out who's controlling the Shadowmen and why they're suddenly so organized.
I've been running some scans.
Amy said, tapping away on her mini-computer.
The energy signatures are consistent with Lepidus' influence, but there's something else, there's something new I can't quite identify.
Mike crossed his arms, his brow furrowed in thought.
It's possible that Lepidus has a new ally or a new source of power. Whatever it is, we need more information.
Mina nodded, her gaze steely.
We can't keep reacting to their attacks. We need to go on the offensive, find out who's orchestrating this and put a stop to it.
But first,
Alex interjected, his voice calm but firm.
We need to rest and regroup. We can't fight if we're exhausted. We need to be at our best if we're going to face whatever's coming next.
Serena sighed, her shoulders slumping slightly.
Alex is right. We've been pushing ourselves too hard. We need to take a step back, recover, and come up with a new strategy.
Ray placed a comforting hand on Serena's shoulder.
We'll get through this, Serena. We faced impossible odds before and came out stronger. This time won't be any different.
Lita nodded in agreement.
And we have something we didn't have the Knights of Haven before. We're stronger than ever.
The knights exchanged determined glances, their resolve matching that of the Sailor Scouts.
We're in this together,
Derek said, his voice steady. As the team sat in the park, their exhaustion slowly giving way to renewed determination, they began to discuss their next steps. They mapped out possible locations where Lepidus' influence might be strongest, shared intel on recent attacks, and brainstormed new tactics.
Let's meet at the temple tomorrow,
Ray suggested.
We can meditate and train, clear our minds, and come up with a solid plan.
Good idea.
Amy agreed.
We need to be mentally and physically prepared for whatever comes next.
As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the park, the team disbanded for the evening, each member carrying a piece of the collective burden. They knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but they were ready to face it together. Serena and Darian lingered a moment longer, watching their friends leave.
We'll get through this, right, Momo?
Serena asked, her voice soft. Darian squeezed her hand reassuringly.
We will, Buns. As long as we stick together, there's nothing we can't overcome.
With a final glance at the horizon, the two turned and headed home, their hearts heavy, but their spirits unbroken. The battle was far from over, but they were ready to face whatever darkness lay ahead, united in their quest for peace and justice.
The following message is from the Red Cornish Ranger and said of my own... I'm going to say it. Said of my own free will. If you're enjoying what you're listening to, then why not check out the other podcasts on the Zero to Hero network, such as Storytime with Cosplay Dude 637, Fairy Tale the audio drama, Baker Ranger Movie Talks, and the exceptionally brilliant and intelligent... No one's going to believe this, you do know that, okay? Fine, just stop poking me with that. the exceptionally intelligent Billy and his sidekick Jim on the Zero to Hero podcast. Also, if you would like intelligent and mind-blowing conversation, then join the Discord. And no one's going to believe... All right, I'll say it. Join the Discord for all the fun and intelligent conversation you can possibly get. Now back to our scheduled program. Intelligent... Seriously, what were you thinking? No!
The Cherry Hill Shrine, usually a sanctuary of calm, was filled with a palpable tension as the Sailor Scouts and Knights of Haven gathered in the main room. The flickering light of candles cast dancing shadows on the walls, mirroring the unease in the room. Ray stood at the center, her expression serious as she addressed the group.
We need to find out who's controlling the Shadow Men and why they're suddenly so organized,
she said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. Amy stepped forward, her mini-computer in hand. The screen glowed with the complex data and patterns.
I've been analyzing the patterns of their attacks,
she explained, her fingers tapping rapidly as she brought up various charts and graphs.
There's definitely a method to it. They seem to be testing our defenses, probing for weaknesses.
Lita crossed her arms, her brow furrowed in concern.
So they're trying to find our weak spots? That's not good,
she said, shaking her head.
We need to shore up our defenses before they exploit them.
Darian, standing beside Serena, nodded in agreement.
We need to be proactive,
he suggested, his eyes scanning the room.
If they're watching us, we need to watch them back. We can't afford to be reactive anymore.
Serena clenched her fists, her determination evident.
We have to stay one step ahead of them,
she said, her voice filled with resolve.
We can't let them catch us off guard again.
Mina raised a hand, her eyes sparkling with an idea.
Maybe it's time that we set a trap for them,
she proposed.
Lure them into a fight on our terms. If we can predict their next move, we can turn the tables.
Mike, who had been listening intently, nodded thoughtfully.
That's risky, but it could work,
he agreed, his voice calm and measured.
We just need to make sure we're ready for anything. We need to anticipate their moves and counter them effectively.
Ray paced the room, her mind racing with possibilities.
We need to choose a location that gives us an advantage,
she mused.
Somewhere where we know well, we can control the environment.
Amy brought up a map on her mini-computer, highlighting potential locations.
What about the abandoned warehouse district?
She suggested.
It's isolated and we can set up traps and defenses without risking civilian lives.
Lita nodded.
Good idea. We can use the terrain to our advantage,
she said, her strategic mind already working out the details.
We just need to make sure we cover all possible escape routes.
Oz stepped forward.
I'll work on setting up some defense barriers and traps,
he offered.
We can use a combination of element powers to create a gauntlet they won't expect,
Derek added.
And I'll set up some distractions. We can use controlled fires to herd them into specific areas.
Alex smiled.
I'll flood certain zones to limit their movement. We can create choke points and bottlenecks.
Mike nodded in agreement.
I'll handle the surveillance. With my powers, I can keep an eye on their movements and alert everyone to any changes.
Serena looked around at her friends, feeling a surge of pride and gratitude.
We can do this,
she said, her voice strong.
We're stronger together, and we won't let them defeat us.
Ray placed a reassuring hand on Serena's shoulder.
We got your back, Serena,
she said.
We're in this together.
The team spent the next hour meticulously planning their strategy, considering every possible scenario and countermeasure. They discussed positioning, communication signals, and contingency plans, leaving no detail unchecked. As the meeting drew to a close, the atmosphere shifted from tense to determined. Each member of the team felt a renewed sense of purpose and unity. They knew the risks were high, but they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead.
We'll meet at the warehouse district tomorrow night,
Ray concluded.
Everyone, get some rest. We'll need all our strength for this.
As they dispersed, Serena looked at Darian, her eyes filled with a mix of fear and hope.
We can do this, right?
She asked softly. Darian took her hand, squeezing it reassuringly.
We can.
He replied with a confident smile.
Together, we can face anything.
With their plans set, and their spirits high, the Sailor Scouts and Knights of Haven prepared for the battle to come, united in the resolve to protect their world and each other. In the dimly lit expanse of Lapidus' lair, Flora stood at the edge of a sprawling control room. The flickering screens and a humming machinery cast eerie shadows across the walls. Lapidus himself stood at the center, his imposing figure bathed in a glow of monitors displaying scenes of chaos from the latest attacks. Flora watched silently, her mind racing. She had seen enough. The destruction, the pain. This wasn't what she wanted. This wasn't what her brother would have wanted. Lapidus turned to her, his eyes cold and calculating.
Flora,
he began, his voice a low growl.
You seem troubled.
She forced herself to meet his gaze, her heart pounding.
Uncle, I've been thinking about everything.
Lapidus' eyes narrowed, suspicion flickering across his face.
And what have you concluded, my dear niece?
Flora hesitated, choosing her words carefully.
I understand why you want to destroy the Sailor Scouts and the Knights of Heaven. They're powerful and they stand in our way, but is this really the only way to achieve peace?
Lapidus' expression softened slightly, a rare occurrence.
Flora, you must understand. They are not like us. They would rather see the world torn apart by conflict and chaos than allow us to bring true order. They are blinded by their own ideals.
Flora nodded slowly, her face a mask of contemplation.
I see. So by eliminating them, we ensure the survival and prosperity of our kind.
Exactly,
Lapidus said, a hint of satisfaction in his voice.
They would destroy the earth with their endless battles. We offer them a chance to build something better, a world where our people can thrive without fear.
Flora bit her lip, her mind a whirlwind of doubt and guilt.
And if I help you, we'll achieve that vision together?
Lapidus placed a hand on her shoulder, his touch cold and firm.
Yes, Flora. Together, we will reshape this world into one of true peace and order.
She forced a smile, nodding in agreement.
All right, Uncle. I'll help you.
As Lapidus turned back to the screens, Flora's mind raced. She had to make him believe she was on his side, but in her heart, she knew what she had to do. The truth was too important. The heroes deserved to know what they were up against, and she couldn't stand by and let her uncle's twisted vision come to pass.
I need some time to think,
she said, stepping back.
To prepare myself for what's to come.
Lapidus nodded, his focus already shifting back to his plans.
Take all the time you need, Flora. We will soon begin the final phase.
As she left the control room, Flora felt a surge of resolve. She had made her decision. She would warn the Sailor Scouts and the Knights of Haven. They needed to know about Lapidus' plans and the full extent of his power. Walking through the dark corridors of their lair, Flora's heart felt lighter, even as the weight of her choice settled on her shoulders. She had a mission now, one that aligned with her true beliefs and her love for her brother. With every step she took, Flora grew more determined. She would find the heroes and tell them everything. It was the only way to stop Lepidus and save the world from his destructive ambitions. And as she moved through the shadows, she knew she was finally on the right path.
Two friends sit in a pub in the capital of Elfheim.
Hey man, are you into comics at all?
Yeah, man, like, way into them.
I was, but I just don't have the time for it anymore, with questing and all my duties IRL.
Hold up. Why don't you check out Nerds Through Comics?
Dude, this says Nerds Throw Comics, not Nerds Through Comics.
Yeah, it's a joke that two of the producers had and just ran with it.
Producers?
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that Nerds Through Comics is produced by Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger.
Okay, I know that name. Hold on, you said two producers.
Oh yeah, it's part of the Three Ranger Bros studio, run by Cosplay Dude 637, Mark the Red Cornish Ranger, and Ty Tiger.
Did you just say Ty Tiger in Cosplay Dude?
Yeah, yes, I did. And Mark the Red Cornish Ranger.
I love the stuff they do on their other channels. I didn't know they were part of this podcast studio.
That they are.
Okay, that's Nerds Through Comics, spelled THROW, right?
That's right. You can find it anywhere you get podcasts.
Thanks, man. I am so going to subscribe.
Discover Nerds Through Comics, produced by the amazing team behind the Three Ranger Bros studio. Cosplay Dude 637, Mark the Red Cornish Ranger, and Ty Tiger. Find it on all major podcast platforms. Go and follow now.
The Crown Cafe was quieter than usual. The after-school crowd having thinned out, Serena and Darian sat at their usual table, sipping on their drinks and discussing their next steps. The recent battles had taken a toll on everyone, and the need for a break was palpable. Just then, the bell above the door chimed, and Flora entered. Her presence immediately drew attention, but there was something about her that seemed familiar, yet out of place. Serena and Darian exchanged a glance as Flora approached their table with a determined look in her eyes.
Can we talk?
She said, her voice steady, but with an underlying urgency.
There's something you need to know.
Serena tilted her head, confused, etched on her face.
Who are you?
Flora took a deep breath, her eyes locking into Darian's.
My name is Flora,
she said, her voice trembling slightly.
And I'm your sister.
Darian's eyes widened in shock.
My sister? What are you talking about?
Flora hesitated, glancing around to ensure they weren't being overheard.
Can we sit somewhere more private?
She asked.
This is a lot to explain.
Serena and Darian nodded, leading Flora to a secluded corner booth. Once they were settled, Flora began to speak, her voice filled with a mix of hesitation and resolve.
My real name is Gaia, Princess Gaia of the Earth Kingdom.
Flora explained.
In your past life, Darian, when you were Prince Edmond, I was your sister. We are both part of the royal family of Earth, and our lives are deeply intertwined with the Moon Kingdom.
Darian leaned forward, trying to process the information.
I don't have a sister, but why are you here now, and how do you remember all this?
Flora sighed, her expression filled with sorrow.
I was sent to another dimension for my safety during the war between Earth and the Moon Kingdom. I only recently regained the memories of our past lives. Uncle Leptius, who you know as the mastermind behind the Shadow Man, found me and took me in. He convinced me that you and your allies are a threat to Earth's peace.
Serena's eyes softened with understanding.
So you've been working with Lepidus all this time?
Flora nodded, guilt evident in her expression.
Yes, but it didn't take long for me to see that his methods were cruel and destructive. I couldn't reconcile his vision with the kind of peace and order we once dreamed of. I realized I had to find you and warn you about his true intentions.
Darian reached out, placing a reassuring hand on Flora's.
Thank you for coming to us. This must have been incredibly difficult for you.
Flora's eyes filled with tears, but she quickly wiped them away.
It was, but it was the right thing to do. Lepidus is planning something big. He's using the Shadow Man to test your defenses, and he's building a weapon that can destroy everything.
Serena's face hardened with resolve.
We need to stop him before he can carry out his plan. Flora, will you help us?
Flora nodded firmly.
Yes, I'll do whatever it takes to make things right.
Just then, the door to the cafe opened again, and the rest of the Sailor Scouts and Knights of Haven entered. They joined the group in the corner booth, their expressions a mix of curiosity and concern.
What's going on?
Ray asked, her eyes narrowing as she looked at Flora. Serena quickly filled them in on Flora's story, and the room fell silent as everyone absorbed the new information. Finally, Mike spoke up, his voice measured.
If Flora is telling the truth, then we have a powerful ally in her,
he said.
But we also need to be cautious. Lepidus won't take kindly to her betrayal.
Flora nodded, understanding their caution.
I know it's hard to trust me after everything that's happened, but I'm committed to stopping Lepidus and protecting the world.
Lita crossed her arms, her expression skeptical, but willing to give Flora a chance.
All right then, let's figure out our next move together.
Flora, now part of their team, the Sailor Scouts and Knights of Haven, felt a renewed sense of purpose. They knew the road ahead would be challenging, but with new information and an unexpected ally, they were ready to face whatever Lepidus had planned. Just then, everyone's wrist communicators started beeping simultaneously. Luna's urgent voice came through, crackling with intensity. Everyone, come to the base at once, and bring Flora with you. The team exchanged wary glances, but quickly nodded in agreement. Understanding the gravity of Luna's command, they gathered their belongings and prepared to move out, their minds already racing with questions and concerns about what awaited them at the base. The team hurried to the base, the air thick with anticipation and unease. When they arrived, they found Luna and Artemis seated, a sage-green heart-shaped stone resting between them. Luna spoke first, her voice calm but firm. This, she said, gesturing to the stone, is the Earth's heart crystal. Artemis continued. It's for Flora. With it, she'll be able to become Sailor Earth, the last and final member of the Sailor Scouts. Flora's eyes widened as she stared at the crystal.
Sailor Earth,
she whispered, her hand trembling as she reached for the stone. Luna nodded. Yes, Flora, you have always been destined for this. With this power, you can help protect the Earth with your brother. Darian looked at Flora, his eyes filled with a mix of hope and uncertainty.
Flora, are you ready for this?
Flora took a deep breath, her resolve hardening.
I am,
she said, her voice steady.
I will do whatever it takes to protect the Earth and all of you.
Serena smiled warmly.
Welcome to the team.
Fighting evil by moonlight, winning love by daylight, never running from a real fight. She is the one named Sailor. She will never turn her back on a friend. She is always there to defend. She is the one on whom we depend. She is the one named Sailor. She is
with that, we have an end to Season 1 of Sailor Moon E. What new dangers unfold for the Sailor Scouts? And now that Flora is a scout herself, what does this hold for the team? Find out next year when Sailor Moon E Season 2 returns. This podcast is a production of the Three Ranger Bros Studios, in association with Zio to Hero, the podcast. Thank you for listening to that story. Remember, my fanfictions are just that, fanfictions, and are not meant to infringe on the mainstream continuity that they come from. I want to give a huge shout out to all my voice actors. Without them, I could not create such amazing content for all of you. I'd also like to thank some of the supporters, starting with Ty Tiger, my Parabatai and business partner, and then there's Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger. Together, we make up the Three Ranger Bros Studio. A special shout out to the members of the Three Ranger Bro Council, Jonathan, aka A-Crown of the Author's Crown YouTube channel, and my son, Xander, aka Cosplay Son 637. We are also part of the Zio to Hero network ran by Jim and Billy of the Zio to Hero podcast. For more information about them and everyone who helps us, head over to our website, the3rangerbrostudios.com. Until next time, later days!
My real name is Gaia, Princess Gaia of the Earth Kingdom. In your past life, Darian, when you were Prince Edmond, I was your sister. We are both part of the royal family of Earth, and our lives are deeply intertwined with the Moon Kingdom.